Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 122 of the WP Café show with myself, Mark Wilkinson, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Keith Devon. We're both from Highrise Digital, a tiny agency that is building WordPress websites and products. And this is the WP Café show where we talk about the sort of unfiltered, real life agency life that the two of us kind of like go through and talk about WordPress topics that sort of relate to that. Today, we're diving into sort of HTML template building. We're looking at various other things, including quoting for work, a bit of an update on some work we talked about in previous episodes as well. So if you've listened to those and you want to know what happened, you're probably in the right place. You can follow the show on X at WP Café Show. We're also on Blue Sky at wpcafe.show, which is also the website where you can find past episodes of the show. And if you enjoy this episode, please hit subscribe and like, leave us a comment below, and share this with someone that you think might find it useful. We love to hear your thoughts, so please do join in the conversation. And if you're listening along live on YouTube, let us know that you're listening in the comments and where you are listening from. That'd be nice. Yeah. So, as always, Keith, how have you been this week?
Yeah, good.
Good.
What's new? Outside of work, I'm enjoying watching my garden come to life. I'm not a super keen gardener, but I do appreciate, when all the flowers come out, and we've got some nice. Yep. When we moved into the house, garden had loads of nice old rose bushes and stuff. So this time of year, it all kind of springs to life, and it is. Yeah, been really enjoying that. What else been up to? I've been like not doom scrolling, but doom watching about AI and our the future of humanity. So I was watching. Said this to you earlier, like the Diary of a CEO podcast. I was watching a YouTube video, and it's is it Stephen Bartlett? I think it's Stephen Bartlett, and three others on a panel, just chatting about the future and what AI is going to do for us and how it might harm us. And I find it kind of fascinating. There's one guy on the panel. He's the CEO, founder, or whatever of Replit, which is a like code
AI
builder, AI like software builder, which I'd heard of before. And he's just like relentlessly optimistic and just dismissive of all the potential horrors that we're going to face. And it's scary. It's people like him that are driving all of this forward without any real consideration for what's actually going to happen. And yeah, they're just, I don't know, head in the sand, full steam ahead. So yeah, it's worth checking out if you're interested in the topic. Generally, it's quite an interesting discussion. There's a few times I wish he'd been pulled up by the others, like on some specific points. But worth looking into. And I just keep feeling like certain times that I reach for ChatGPT, or it's ChatGPT rather than Cursor. I don't really care so much when I'm writing code. But when I'm writing, and I'm asking like ChatGPT to improve this email, or there's a bit of a gross feeling, isn't there, about it? It's like, that's not me anymore. I kind of didn't send that email anymore. I'm not communicating as a human to another human. And there's something that's starting to like feel deeply unsettling about the whole thing. So yeah, that's a nice happy start to the show. How do you feel about it all, Mark?
I think that's a whole other episode if we're going to start talking about AI.
We're not experts. I don't think we can do an episode on it, but yeah.
I'm using it. I fear that it's going to go in the wrong direction because that's where people will take it, unfortunately. But
yeah,
we will see. And that's something else. My week has been kind of frustrating. It's been one of those weeks where you start to do something and then you can't because of something else, and then you start something else and then something else doesn't want to work properly or something like that. It's just been like a week of frustration. Like I was working on something yesterday or the day before, and I was adding a filter to something, and I got like the filter name and the function the wrong way around. And for like 20 minutes, I just could not see what was doing wrong. And it's like this. I was just sat there thinking, this is ridiculous, Mark. You've been doing this, whatever, 15 years. There's nothing wrong with this code in front of you. And then I put it into ChatGPT and it just said, yeah, you've got those the wrong way around. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, there's the good side of AI, right?
Yeah. So that's been my frustrating week. I've been trying to build some blocks this morning with ACF in the kind of like the new ACF. People probably think, what do I mean by that? Last time we built blocks with ACF, it was like the very first or second versions of it. And this is the sort of like the more native one where you just register it with a block.json file. And yeah, it's been going all right. It's been some funny things happening, but I think that's just my local environment because it's not really very good in terms of like up to date with the live site and things. So I've persisted and continued. So that's been good.
Yeah.
And then I've been working a bit on the job relay product. I don't know if we want to talk about that now, an update, or we want to leave that
go for it. Why not?
So I, for those listening last week and probably the week before, I was working on background processing, so passing jobs to a queue essentially. So a job comes into us, we add it to the queue to get sent out to the website that it needs to be delivered to. So I built that and it was great, and then I pushed it live and it was great. And then about 3 days later, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It started to break. I got like several emails from people in the morning saying my jobs haven't posted or what's going on. So I looked into it, and it appears as though the error that was being generated was like allowed memory sizes exceeded whatever number it was. That was the only thing I could get to. So
like a PHP memory limit.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Which never happened locally with loads of testing. So I just don't really know what it was. And then I'm at the point where I don't really know what's causing that memory problem. And then I was in the position, well, the only way I can fix this is to keep it broken, really, and then start doing some debugging, like what's the last process that's run or something like that. And I can't do that because it's a live system. So I was a bit stuck, really. Like, what do I do? So in the end, I just rolled it back to what we had before, and I've left it like that. And then early this week and a bit yesterday evening, I was looking at trying to put it back in, but to try and pick and choose customers that use it. So essentially, we've got like a version 1, which is the old system, and then we'll have a version 2, which is the new way of doing it. And then I can just say, hey, let's just try this with customer X. Let's set them to version 2, and then they can start using this. And then maybe if that doesn't break, we can set another customer to it and then see at what point it breaks. And then maybe because you're only dealing with 2 customers then and not hundreds of customers, you can then say, well, actually, let's just leave that for an hour. We'll try and fix it. I'll get some data from it, and then we can roll them back to version 1 and so on. At least I've got, if it breaks on version 2, at least I've got a fix to the client to say, oh, I'll just flip it back to version 1 and just go and push the jobs again and it'll work. So that was a bit frustrating, having kind of like built it, tested it as best I could, and then and weirdly it worked, and then it didn't work. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
work in progress. We're still going to carry on with it. So I'll keep you updated as to what's happening.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's the right long-term approach, but yeah, really hard to debug this stuff.
Yeah, I think it is. But that's like I was saying to you last week or whatever it was. It's like for 99% of people, it's fine the way it is. It's just the odd one that has lots of jobs and things, and it causes a bit of an issue. So I don't know, but I'll keep going. It's interesting work, if nothing else, and you learn a lot from it. So we'll crack on with that.
Very good.
So the headline for today's show was email templates. I think this has been the pain of Keith's life for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So do tell all, email templates.
So we have a client with the job board, and they want to allow users to sign up for job alerts. So the user would say, send me an email every time a job in this category is posted, or a daily digest or a weekly digest or whatever. We ended up choosing the content notify plugin for the task by Jack McConnell. Is it Jack McConnell?
I think so, yeah.
And it does a really good job, like almost perfect out of the box. So we got it all set up. It was working. It was sending emails, worked with our job post type. And then the client says, yeah, that's great. Can we just make a few changes to the email itself? And I thought, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that's too difficult. Well, 3 days
What little
later,
did you know?
3 days later, I am going back to the client saying, I've just wasted the last 3 days. You basically can have it out of the box or nothing. Because, well, for various reasons. One, just email templating is horrific.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't understand why. Because lots of us use web browsers to
View
look at
emails.
email. And even if you don't, I don't know why email clients can't just
Get with
render
the 21st
emails
century.
like they like a website. So
Yeah.
why can't the question is, why can't we use modern HTML and CSS in email? Because what you still have to do in 2025 apparently is like table inception. So like tables wrapped in tables, wrapped in tables, wrapped in tables, wrapped in tables. It's horrific. So that was one of the problems. Just creating a template and styling system that will render fairly consistently across different clients and browsers, etc., is so difficult. So that was one thing. And then the other thing was, really unfortunately, the Content Notify plugin isn't very customizable. So he has got this concept of templates, so I can put a template file in my theme and change the contents of that template. But it's not enough. You can only change one very small part of the email that gets sent, not the whole email. There's not enough classes in the markups that I can just hook into stuff just using basic CSS. It's really not very customizable. And to be fair to Jack, I can now see why, because actually making it customizable would be really, really hard. I think it could be better, for sure. It could be better. But it would be hard. What I ended up trying in the end, so I was fiddling about with it, hacking it. I decided eventually I'm just going to hack the plugin itself and just set the version number to 999 so it never gets overwritten. And I'm just going to make changes to the plugin itself because that's the only way I could get the markup that I needed. So I started doing.
I think it's worth saying why that's the case, and it's because the template files that you can put into your theme to override them, they get passed. I think it's called a messages variable in the template. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the messages contains like a loop of all the jobs that are actually going to be in the email, but that's all HTML as well. So you can't override that. So what you really want is the template to be passed raw data, and then the template deals with the raw data essentially, rather than having the markup in there. Now, Jack's probably doing it that way because he knows very well that people like Keith will come along and not be able to create the markup correctly so that it breaks. But that's why we ended up just saying, well, let's just deal with the raw plugin to start with, even if it's just a starting point. Just can we get something working?
Yeah. So I got something looking really good in my local kind of email testing environment. I was like, oh God, 2 days in or whatever it was, I've done it. I've barely charged an hour for this work. I don't like it's. I was like, I've done it. Clients will be happy. And then I sent it to my Gmail, and it just looked awful. Oh my God, this is horrific. So then what I thought I'd do is I looked for email template building tools online.
Yep.
So you know what, you can go into Campaign Monitor or MailChimp and you can create an email.
Yeah.
Right? A drag and drop interface, kind of WYSIWYG kind of thing. So I thought, I wonder if there's just free online tools that can just do that, and then I can grab the HTML, and then I'll put that HTML into the templates or back into the plugin, and then I'll just play with that. And I tried to do that, and it created a really nice email template. And then I copied the HTML, and oh my God, it was just horrific. like it's obviously what's required to make it work and make it editable in this software.
Yeah.
But it was like taking Divi markup and trying to do something sensible with it. So yeah, I got so far and I was just like, right, I think that's it working now. Tried it and it just there was no output, and I was like, right, I'm done now. That's it. So I've gone back to the client and just said, look, I've spent 3 days kind of unpaid, not full 8-hour days, but like spent the last 3 days trying to get this to work and I can't. So lesson learned: don't go anywhere near email template design. And somebody please answer the question as to why it's so archaic, because I don't understand that. That's really, really beyond me. So yeah, very, very frustrating week in terms of that.
Just for the viewers, what's happening now with this work then? What's been agreed to sort of make this work going forward?
I said I would go back to where we were at the start with some very, very simple branding changes. So like making the kind of link color their brand color.
Right, and putting the logo at the top rather than the sort of that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think
so it's functional, but it's not. Yeah. It doesn't look good, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah. I always remember email templates being a pain. And,
everyone always says it.
Yeah. I didn't really foresee that, I think, but yeah, it's frustrating. It kind of brings on to the next the next topic, which quoting for work when you don't know. And this was one of those, like, the client says we want some job alerts put in, and we're like, yeah, that's doable. There's several solutions out there. What we use, I think we're using WP Job Manager with this particular site. They have an alerts add-on. So that was the first thing we wanted to try and achieve. But that wouldn't work because we're not using the Job Manager shortcodes to output the jobs, and the alerts hooks into that. So yeah, we could have probably done it, but again, it's not going to work natively out of the box. Mm-hmm. So we decided to look for some alternatives. I knew about Content Notify. It kind of does exactly what we want. It allows you to select a post type, and you collect all the taxonomies in it and say, find me content when it's doing this and so on. But it's like, how do you quote for that work when you haven't done it? Like you haven't done it. Like we had a stab at this. We hadn't done it, and we've completely failed miserably in terms of like getting the right number of quoting it. And I think that's so difficult when you've never done it before. What do you do? What does everyone else do? I'd love to know.
We're really struggling with this at the minute, aren't we? Because we've got some clients ongoing clients, and one in particular is asking us to do quite a lot of like mini projects, and it's just really painful every time to try to kind of negotiate like internally between us, like what we should be charging for something. And it's like, I literally have no idea. It could be, so this is a perfect example. It could have literally been install the plugin, change a few colors, job done. Or like it's turned out to be, it's like 4 or 5 days of work. So like what do you, before you know that, what do you charge? I mean, should we just be on an hourly model where we're just like, sorry, client, we haven't done this before. We know we're capable, but like it could take us anywhere between 3 hours and 3 days. So we're gonna have to charge you an hourly rate. Is that the way to do it? I mean, are clients happy with that? Is that I don't know. I honestly,
I just don't think the clients are happy with that.
I think some are. I mean, yeah.
Just imagine you build this, saying, well, I want to build an extension. And then he was saying, well, I just don't know how long it's going to take. So just charge me by the hour. And when I want it done, it'll be done.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I need to know how much it's going to cost.
I think it really depends on the task. I mean, and the trust, because like, if you really trust that builder that they A, are good at their job, and B, are honest and work hard, then why not pay an hourly rate? Like, surely that's just like, it's going to take him or her as long as it takes.
In this case, if you take that building analogy, the builder would have built the extension to a certain point and then said, I can't do this. I can't finish it. I haven't got the skills. I've tried my best and I can't do it. So what does he do then? Does he roll it back to not having? You know what I mean? That's the difficulty, I think, and that's where we're to like. once you've got so far and you can't finish it, you've done all that time. It's so difficult to do.
It's so hard. And like we could have, yeah. Sorry, go on to Cameron's comment there.
I was going to say, it says paid scoping, block of hours up front to scope to give them an accurate quote. And this is exactly what we said to each other that we should do. But the problem is, until you got into the specifics of this email template, we wouldn't have known this. So actually, it wouldn't have helped because we'd have, maybe installed the plugin, maybe done that, maybe tried to change some of the colors in the thing, and then thought, yeah, that's doable, and then that's that. And then once you get into the hard parts, that's when it becomes the knowledge that we've gained in that it just doesn't work or it's too difficult. Excuse me. That's where it becomes really difficult. Well, I think in this particular incident sounds like it was a major incident. In this particular job, I think we didn't really get a sense of what the client wanted in terms of the design of the template. Or we certainly didn't appreciate how difficult that was going to be to start with.
Yeah.
And we now know, like, for future, I mean, would you even do this again? I don't know, because it is very different.
Which I think brings up another really interesting question for us. So Courtney, and like I'll just bring in Courtney's comment here. Couldn't you charge for some of it and take the learning forward to apply for future clients, make up the initial loss with future clients? Yes, and I really like that idea. That assumes that we're going to be asked to do this thing again.
Yeah.
Which we may or may not. And then the other thing is, like you said, like, do we do this again in the future if we're asked? Like, I find it really, really hard to say no. And I think that's partly just my personality type. But it's also, once a client is working with us on their website, it's actually really difficult for them to go elsewhere. I mean, we don't make it difficult necessarily, but
I know what you mean.
We want to be the solution to their technical website related problems. And if every time something comes up that we haven't done before, or we're not 100% sure how we're going to get from A to B, and we just say no, they're not going to be working with us for that long. Like, because it's like, well, I need this, or I need that, or
But what we could have done in this particular example, right? They could have said, we need this job alerts feature and we need it to do X, Y, and Z. Now, I am 95% confident we could have built that from scratch.
Yeah, we could have.
If we'd have built it from scratch, it would have just cost a lot more money, though, wouldn't it, for the client? And that's, I think that's where we perhaps, I don't know what the word is, but like the clients, we said we don't like giving quotes that we think they won't accept. And maybe we should just do that. We should just say, we could build this for you exactly as you want it to, and it'll be throwing a number out there, 10 grand. Or we could try using this with these limitations for 1 grand.
The problem is, Mark, we don't know what the limitations are until we start. So say, like, we've used the Content Notify plugin, and we kind of committed to that fairly early on, and it looked like it did do the job. It met the brief.
Yeah. And
then the kind of brief sort of changes. What if, like, should we have tried another plugin as well? Like, and then that one might have been, this just works out of the box. It does everything we want. Or another plugin, or another one. It's like, how far do you go? There could always be that 5-minute, 30-minute solution around the corner. And I think that always plays on my mind as well. It's like, we could say, you want this, it would cost us 5 grand to develop it. That's your quote. And if we happen to find a plugin that does it in 5 minutes, then great. But I just don't think we'd be in business for very long if we're always charging, like,
I agree,
what it would take for us to build from scratch. Like, when there are these solutions out there, it just takes time to find them and configure them and test them. And I guess that's where experience comes in. And we just weren't experienced in this area. But then how do you gain that experience without going through this pain? It just
feels... Cameron's paid scoping. Like, how much do you charge for paid scoping? Like,
And
because
can you
an hour might not be enough. 8 hours might not be enough to understand whether it's going to take 25 hours or 25 days.
Well, that's what I mean. It took me 3 or 4 days to find out that I couldn't do what
exactly.
I thought. So, like, at what point in the paid scoping process would I have found that out? I wouldn't have. That's not entirely fair. We would have got further because we would have probably looked earlier on at the templating, looked earlier on at their desired design, which shouldn't have come after the fact.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sam says, we always ask if the client has a budget for this project. There is always different ways to get the same goal. I agree with that. And how many times, Sam, when you ask them what is the budget for this project, do they actually tell you? Because in my experience, you don't get a sense of what this budget is. If I said to our clients, okay, you want this job alerts, how much do you want to spend on it? I wouldn't really get a proper answer as to what they want to spend on it. I don't know what you think, Keith. Because they really want that guide from you, I think, as well.
Well, they also don't want to play their hand, like
exactly,
or show their hands. You know, they might be thinking, do you know what? I mean, it would be worth spending £3,000 on this, but if it's going to take them 5 minutes, I don't want to tell them that.
Yeah.
And that's totally That's kind of totally reasonable as well. Like, but why should they pay £3,000 for something that's going to take us 5 minutes? Just because it will provide that kind of value doesn't mean that that's a fair price necessarily.
But hang on, if it takes you two things: one, that comes back to the trust that you're talking about before.
Yeah.
And two, why does it matter if it takes you 5 minutes if it delivers exactly what they want and it provides the value that they think that it's going to provide? If they're willing to spend £3,000 to do X, why does it matter if it takes you 1 minute or 20 years to do it? I think you'll get the value.
I think
you are willing to pay.
It comes down to trusting in our expertise, because we could pretend to our clients that we've never heard of gravity forms.
Yeah.
And next time a client comes along to us and says, we really want this kind of form solution where you can drag and drop and we can make our own forms and, you know, send out different notifications and stuff. And we'd be like, oh, I mean, that's a lot of work. That's gonna cost about 20 grand. And they'll be like, do you know what? You know, in the long term, that's actually probably worth it. Is that okay? Is that okay for us to charge 20 grand for installing gravity forms? Just because
comments.
Yeah, just because their kind of need met that kind of valuation. Is it okay to sell that on? And I don't know. I just find this stuff really hard. Like, I'm a big follower of Jonathan Stark and the whole value-based thing. I think there's certain aspects of that philosophy that have helped us transform Highrise Digital. Like, it's kind of helped us move away from billing by the hour and just being a pair of development hands, and like actually probably helped us start off the products and stuff like that, you know, productized kind of services. And that's been revolutionary, but it does have these kind of limitations for me. I'm sure Jonathan would have the answers to all our questions, but yeah, it just feels like in practice it kind of falls down a little bit, especially for these smaller projects. And I find it really hard, really hard.
Cameron says, I think it's part of the mindset. Are you two blokes in a basement building WordPress websites, or are you the world's leading experts in the field of online job management for WordPress?
I think we're somewhere in between, to be honest.
I'm not in a basement. I'm in sort of like a garage conversion, to be honest. But
I don't know, Cameron. Yeah. But what difference does that make, I guess, Cameron? Like, where are you going with that question? I'd love to know, you know, what you're getting at in a way. Yeah, because I kind of understand, you know, what you're saying there, but I don't really understand kind of the point that's being made in a way, because I still don't know how to price things. I think you're talking about in the basement analogy, we're just, we'll charge 10, 20 pounds an hour and we'll just like code away until things are done. Yeah. We're not necessarily that anymore, but we're still being asked to do that kind of work. I think that's the difficulty. When you take on a whole project and you're doing a lot of consultancy plus the coding and you're just using a lot of your experience in that way, it's much easier to kind of value price things and just have kind of, I don't know, it's kind of more art form in terms of pricing, but the kind of smaller and more technical the piece of work gets, I find that's harder and harder to do. Especially when so much of it is just researching the solutions, and you might stumble across it and you might not. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't know. The frustrating thing is I wouldn't know what to do next time when this same kind of situation comes up. I don't feel like we're in a better place, that we've learned a lesson.
We're not learning. We're not getting some answers, which is why I think it frustrates us so much.
It does frustrate. Yeah. Yeah,
because usually you make mistakes, you learn from them, and then it doesn't bother you because you can move on to the next one and not make those mistakes and get it right. Whereas this one doesn't seem to be. We don't seem to have an answer to it really, and it always rears its head and causes stress and confusion and so forth. So
maybe we need a paid hour with Jonathan Stark, and we can put all these questions to him. I think it's about £500 an hour, but this kind of leads quite nicely into the next topic, which was how do you learn from mistakes going forward? And I think, Mark, that specifically you were talking about maybe code fixes, and we come across a situation on a new website. We're like, I'm sure we fixed this problem before.
Yeah,
but I can't remember how. It's come up a few times recently, hasn't it?
I can't think of the example recently. Well, the recent example, it wasn't really the same sort of thing. Was I asked you, I think it was last night, was how did we've talked about this, ACF version 3 of the block.json thing, and how can you get this working? So I started building this block and I think, I better build this in the new version 3, just so if we ever convert the other blocks, it's going to work. And it's like, we've chatted about this on this show. I can't remember what we decided. I can't remember what the solution was that was proposed. Yeah. And it's just stuff like that where you come across it, you think, well, I've done this before. I think with Job Relay as well, someone has a problem, we find what the issue is, and then someone else has a problem 6 months later, and it's like, I know I've done this before, I know this, and I can't remember what it was. So how does everyone else sort of like, well, remember those things? Do you have like a knowledge base or something? I just don't know. What do you think?
The answer is blog about it. And then next time you Google it, your blog post will come up. Okay. I think.
Where?
I mean, that's what we used to do, isn't it? We used to say, oh, I've had this problem, this is how I solved it. And then I've done it loads of times, not so much recently because I'm not really blogging anymore, but I used to do it all the time. I'd be like, how do you do this thing? How do you break out of containers with CSS? And I'd Google it. It was like, oh, there's my article.
Yeah. So my question is, where do we do that blog?
Doesn't really matter as long as Google indexes it, but yeah.
So I don't know. Just wondered how everyone else handles this stuff. You come across these things all the time. You have a problem. You learn a fix for it. It could have been quite an awkward one. I remember one with Job Relay was, someone had the post type that was named the same as another slug in WordPress, which was just causing conflicts all the time. And it was like, yeah, as soon as we changed it, and it was like a eureka moment. Oh my God, we fixed this thing, And then I had it 6 months down the line, and I knew there was something around it, and I just couldn't remember it. I had to go back through my emails, and it was a pain. It took me like an hour to find the solution. Yeah. I just want to be able to sort of say, oh, just check the knowledge base, and we'll just have a look if that's ever come up before. Oh yeah, it has. There we go. And then, but I don't have to set that up. I don't, because it kind of requires like a good search, doesn't it? And then I don't know, it's and discipline to sort of add to it and contribute.
It does. Yeah, I mean discipline more than the search. I think the search side of it is handled by Google or a half decent search plugin on the site if that's what you want to do. Like free plugins like Relevancy are actually really good. You're not going to have hundreds of thousands
on the show notes.
Articles.
Remember, we had the checkout was broken on recpress.com.
Yeah,
I can't remember what we did.
No.
But we fixed it, and I went on to the checkout. What did we do? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I even contacted Easy Digital Downloads, and they didn't fix it. I fixed it, but I can't remember what I did.
Yeah. So if it ever happens again, we're back to square one. I don't know what I did. Yeah, and you're right about the discipline thing, because where does that end? Like, is every little bug fix that you make get logged on this tool? I mean, that would get ridiculous, wouldn't it? You'd never get any work done. But maybe certainly big things like that where it's taken.
I think you'll know what to add to it.
Effort.
I think your gut feeling will know this has been a pain. I'm going to put this on because it's it's going to come up again.
Yeah.
But it just dawned on me the other day that I was like, I've forgotten completely how to do these couple of things, and the real problems that we've solved. And we should know now. That's what we're learning for. That's why we're trying to build up an expertise. But I don't know what everyone else does. Nothing like us, or keep it in your mind, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there a good solution?
Yeah.
Anyway. Last but not least on the list is WordPress.com AI website builder. I think you were having to play with this, weren't you?
Yeah, and I was really excited to have a go. And so WordPress.com announced an AI builder. It's at WordPress.com/AI-website-builder. Just Google it. It's in the footer of the WordPress.com. So I went on and I was hoping to be able to chat to everybody about how great this AI builder is. I've tried it 3 times and I just get a loading screen. So I haven't ever built a website with it. So I don't really have a whole lot to say. Except, has anyone else tried it and doesn't work? And what's it like? Because it ain't working for me. I asked it to build a website for a local flower shop, and it just keeps spinning and timing out. So, and in fact, it doesn't time out.
Is it free?
Apparently, yeah. Don't know. I mean, maybe there's a team of developers in India frantically trying to build me my flower shop website. I don't. Did you hear about that? The AI, is it Builder.ai?
No.
They'd raised millions and millions of dollars from like Microsoft and that, and it turns out it was just a team of humans behind the scenes working, pretending to be an AI.
And
maybe Mark got inspired by that.
I've just asked it to build a website for my local junior football team.
Does it work?
I pressed enter, and I've got a white screen.
Has it got a bar that's like a loading bar?
No, nothing. Just literally a white screen. Nothing on the webpage.
Jesus.
WordPress.com/setup/AI site builder processing, and then it puts my prompt in, but literally nothing's happening on the page. I've got nothing on the page. It's just white.
So the prompt that it suggests is build a website for my coffee shop. So I'm just going to try again. Build a website for my coffee shop. Go. Do I need to accept cookies or something first? I don't know. Because there was a cookie pop up. Yeah, it's not working again. I thought it might be the Brave Shields or something like that. That I've turned those off. I mean, to be fair, I haven't given this one that long. I don't know how long it's supposed to take, but I started my other ones 4 hours ago, and
it's not come back yet.
It hasn't come back yet. So maybe next week we'll be able to talk about the WordPress.com AI builder.
It is new, this then, is it?
I think I got some kind of announcement, whether it was probably an email and something on the socials. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's way better than Wix.
I was genuinely quite intrigued to try it out. Like I want to see what it can do. Like, because I've seen some pretty cool stuff with AI and the block editor, and people being able to just like say, build me this, and it does it all in blocks, and it is pretty awesome. But yeah, anyway, not working for me. So
no, not working for me. Right, we will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, those that joined us live. If you're listening after the event on the podcast, thanks for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode or enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share this with someone else. It'd be really good if you could do that. And we hope to see you next week for the next episode, which is Friday the 13th. So until then, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.